The 49ers had 4 quarterbacks yesterday, and after the second day of camp, they're down to 0. Should the 49ers even field a team in 2023? Jason Aponte will answer that question and more. New Sprint Right Option podcast right now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Right Option podcast. Oh my goodness, another day, another new episode of the Sprint Right Option podcast. I'm Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by Jason Aponte. Dare I say a man who was the first on the proverbial field of podcasting, sending me the podcast link at 2:52 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. He was the first one on the field today. Jason, how's that feel for you?
I mean, what do I get for it? And the first one on the field in our chat is Eric Crocker. Shout out to Croc.
We love
don't
that.
Yell at us. Don't yell at us. We have a start time of 8:15.
5:01.
Right.
5:01 p.m. Croc is in here like, hey, start.
Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for whenever we go live. But Andrew, today is an interesting day. And I sent the tweet out. You know me, I always joke around. I like using memes. I particularly enjoy using Drewski memes. But it's insane to me the overreactions when guys are in T-shirts and shorts. The 49ers defense is very good.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, who hasn't played football since that ill-fated NFC Championship game, looks like he probably is human and is rusty.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are, grand proclamations, victory laps. Couldn't be the Sprint Right Option podcast at this point.
It's a yearly tradition for 49ers Twitter in camp where day one, it's kind of like that fun. We're excited. The boys are back in red and gold. Like, we're a little excited. Nipples are hard everywhere. All that fun stuff.
Hey, chill out.
And then, is that too much? I'm excited about football. I apologize. I was excited about football. Is that better?
Yeah.
And day two, we're just back mid-season form. We're yelling at each other. The media's lying. There's narratives to be had. There's football being played. And you know what? I honestly, I don't care. Like I care. I care as a content creator. Let me walk that back.
Right.
But for God's sake, it is July 27th. And I understand that we're excited to be back. We talk about this stuff, Jason, where in the off season, we get excited to talk about like real football, right? Because everything's hypothetical in the off season, and all the off season talk is hypothetical this, hypothetical that. This is our first taste of seeing the 49ers on a football field. This still isn't real football though, because this is, as Jason said, guys in shorts. I mean, the Niners pass rush, Javon Kinlaw was encroaching on garbage cans today. Did you see that? Streets are saying, per Jordan Elliott Sports, Jason Aponte coming west. We confirmed that yesterday, I believe, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a little bit harder to lock in the flight itself, but I'll be there.
Well, he'll be there. But it's just like, it's the second day of camp.
Yes.
Brock Purdy, obviously, I know Kyle Shanahan said no limitations and all that stuff. Rusty is rusty. Like it is what it is. This is his first practice in however long it's been since before the NFC Championship game. I'm not worried about it, and me giving this much attention to it because I know that's what the big talk is Purdy's numbers. We'll get to it. None of this matters right now. This is big for the guys who you're not sure who are on the team right now. I think it's pretty obvious who the starting quarterback is on this team. I have a quote to back that up. We'll dive into all that. But yeah, man, I care, but I don't care. Does that make sense?
Well, until the pads go on, that's when things really happen. Right now, it's shirts and T-shirts. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if Croc is still in here, but I love it when I say things and Croc says the same exact thing, because then we're kind of like on the same wavelength, and I start to feel good about that we shared a thought. The defense is ahead of the offense, even without Nick Bosa, with no hitting, nothing like that at all. Then you toss in the fact that Brock Purdy is rusty, which he admitted himself. The real thing that you should be excited about right now about Brock Purdy is not his numbers, is that he made it through with no setbacks, has no physical limitations, and that today is one day of many days getting ramped up for week one. And I don't understand why there is this rush to want to, oh, he looked bad. See, I don't know if you can run. Like, guys, chill. And if I could, harken back to this point from yesterday, Jimmy Garoppolo was a poor practice player, but nobody ever freaked out, right? Like they just there was the 5 interceptions, and everybody was like, oh my god, like what do we do? But on Sunday, he's a gamer and he shows up. What if Brock Purdy is the same way?
Yeah,
relax. When the pads start going on, when you start to get to a point where Brock has assimilated himself a little bit more, there's a lot more installed on offense because everything is so light right now. Maybe you can draw some concern. But practice, we're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
Yes.
And we're practice with definitives. That's the biggest thing. Concern, maybe. I wouldn't be concerned because I understand what's going on like right now. But outright panic, outright sitting there and just going out on a limb and trying to like pull up your old tweets of where you said, I knew Brock wasn't the guy. Come on. What are we doing? I mean, these are light practices right now. Mm-hmm. You're going to start to see things get a little bit heightened when the pads go on.
Yes.
And that's almost on the 5th day. So let's get to some of these.
And I feel like, too, just real quick, because you always seem to – we talk about it early in camp every year, and you mentioned, and you said Croc mentioned it, that the defense is ahead of the offense. And that's something I feel like we say every year around this time, right? And I love JKBG so much and just – man, thank you, Andrew. Like I tell my girlfriend when I'm disappointing in the sack, you have to let me shake off the rust, sweetie. That's why I prefer your sister. She understands. JKBG is the man. He gives us one every time. But yeah, man, like the defense obviously ahead, and I understand why we like the camp numbers. There's something tangible that we can understand, and like yesterday, Jason, we are not there, so we are going off of what other people say, and this is what we have. We're not going to tell you what we think of Purdy. We're just telling you what we read about Purdy. Well, I think we're going to tell you what we think about what we read, but we're not telling you what we think after watching him for an hour or two. And yeah, Jason, I remember, and I have the notes somewhere in my cabinet over here. Last year, we had Purdy as the worst quarterback in his 3 reps, like after throwing after Sudfeld and after Lance, when we went, right, for that one practice, we're like, yeah, this Purdy guy's the worst, and look where we're at now. So it's just, I understand the overreactions, but please, let's not overreact. Like, does that make sense?
And look what Croc says. Offense takes more cohesiveness usually when it takes a little more time. Absolutely, especially when they're installing basic things and you're just trying to get in the swing of things. I think the biggest takeaway about Brock Purdy today is no setbacks. The arm looked good. Apparently, he threw the ball 45, 50 yards in the air. No problem. Those are the things that you should be focused on. But I do find something funny. Do find something very, 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 very funny. Last season when we were there, we were providing context for Trey Lance's day and the drops and all that stuff. Now, today, I'm not going to say any names. Today, there was something that came out that said camp numbers are cool, but I'll trust my eyes. And it's so funny how now when that's your guy and the guy that you were propping up, now I'll use my eyes and camp numbers don't matter. Well.
How the turns have tabled.
It should always be that, no matter who the quarterback is. There should be no spin on any of it. Don't do that now on that. No one with a brain or anyone who's logical and level-headed was going to kill Brock Purdy for today, especially if you weren't there, by the way.
Yeah.
But don't put that as a disclaimer now when that was never a disclaimer before. So funny to me. So funny. Very, very funny. Kind of sneaky. Just a little sneaky.
This podcast has always very much been a whoever wins 49ers games is the quarterback that I like. So yeah, whatever comes out of this, I am curious. Hey, Jason, we want to dive into those numbers. We want to talk a little bit about.
Might as well talk about them now.
Obviously, the most important thing that happened today, Talanoa Hufanga, the first player on the field. Most important. Thank you. Shout out to the people tagging me.
Conflicting reports about that as well too.
We had some conflicting reports, and for those of you who tweeted, for the one of you that tweeted me about Jair Brown being the first player on the field, I saw 2 tweets saying Hufanga, one saying Brown, so I'm running with Hufanga. It's officially Talanoa Hufanga, first one on the field today, so it's 1-1 Brown Hufanga. Now, let's get into those numbers we were teasing. Obviously, we're here to talk about the quarterback situation. Brock Purdy, 3 for 10, 1 interception. That was a Tashawn Gibson interception. Trey Lance, 2 for 5 with a dropped interception. I took that from a tweet. I think you guys know what I think of dropped interceptions. They're just fancy ways of saying incomplete passes.
It seemed to me like it was in the breadbasket. And that's the context you should give.
Absolutely, exactly. So there's that. Darnold 3 for 5, Allen 4 for 5. From what I read a couple tweets that Darnold looked the most impressive. I saw David Lombardi of The Athletic really liked to use the word heater today. Purdy's best throw was quote unquote a heater to Ayuk for 20 yards, but I think he used heater in a couple other tweets. I just like the word heater, like makes me think of Randy Johnson. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
There was a couple overthrows on a couple deep passes. Camp's all about timing, finding the timing, kind of what Croc just said about cohesiveness, timing, all that fun stuff. They're going to get there, so I'm not too worried. And then the last thing, Purdy, there was a little bit of confusion because of a tweet that went out, but Purdy said nothing is bothering him physically, and he's ready to play 11 on 11. So there we go. That's where we're at with today's update. After yesterday, I think I still have the numbers. Lance 4 for 5, Darnold 2 for 4, Allen 0 for 3. So there you go.
Our chat is on fire today. I would put up Jordan. Well, let's do JKBGs real quick. Where did you get those camp numbers? At the toilet store? Where do you get that? What's that from, Andrew?
You're gonna say I know it sounds that one legitimately at the toilet. So if you say it, I'm gonna say I know it. He's not even gonna say. He's just gonna leave me hanging.
It's all right. It's Anchorman. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. See, no, that's why I haven't seen that. I think we talked about it. I haven't seen Anchorman.
And this is especially one of my, now that, per the streets 2 weeks, I'm going to be outside. This is definitely something that I would send somebody. Talking about quarterbacks got me thinking about how we never had each other's backs. The distance between Purdy and Lance has me sick thinking about the distance between us. You don't have to respond. Jordan, if you want to make that perfect, just say hi to your mom for me. That's how you send that tweet. If you guys are not aware, that's the future meme of him texting, women after not talking.
That one I knew. That one I knew.
You knew that.
I'm on the internet. All
right. No, look, again, all of this stuff is right now. You're talking about one guy coming off an arm injury. You're talking about another guy coming off an ankle injury who's refining his mechanics. You're talking about one guy who's coming back from being terrible. You're talking about one guy who's there and used to back up Joe Burrow. I don't really think that you should overextend yourself at this point. And also, guys, 49ers defense is pretty fucking good. And I think that's pretty much what we should get from it, especially when it comes to secondary. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about secondary being the ones who can actually cover and touch, because you're not going to have any hitting at the line. You're not going to have pressure or anything like that. You really understand that the secondary is going to have an advantage. So the 49ers defense is pretty fucking good too. This whole idea has kind of gone out the window because of people trying to confirm their priors, and the whole iron sharpens iron thing is gone out the window. Yeah. And it's just Brock Purdy's not going to have to face a defense like this.
No. Until
Philadelphia, right? The 49ers legit have a claim as the number one defense, and they're still not hitting. They're still no Nick Bosa. They're still pretty good. And from what it sounds like, Steve Wilkes was juiced. He had his guys going. There's been a little bit of chirping back and forth between Ayuk and the secondary and everything as well, too. All of that stuff can't be discounted at this point.
No.
So what's wrong with just saying, hey, Brock Purdy was rusty. 49ers defense is pretty good. Both are true. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and can I just about the Brock Purdy situation, because I feel like a lot of the focus on the numbers is there's this thought that there's a competition. Mm-hmm. And I said it in the group chat today. I don't think the word competition should be thrown around unless we're talking specifically about quarterback 2. And I listened to the Kawakami Shanahan podcast.
Nice.
So took notes. Hey, shout out Andrew, a little late, but that's okay. And I don't know if I didn't notice this quote going around on Twitter when Shanahan said it. So if I missed it, I apologize. But this is the one quote I wrote word for word, and it was about the Purdy Lance kind of situation. Quote, I don't believe in you lose your job to injury, but you are giving an opportunity to somebody else. And this guy got his opportunity and came in and did stuff on film for me, John, the players that's as good as we've seen here. And it's going to be real hard to beat that out. What, like, in the context of the Trey Lance Purdy conversation, like, what conversation are we having at this point? And that's my thing, because I feel like that's where a lot of this, because I'm not an anti-Lance guy. I'm not a pro Purdy guy. I know there's a lot of people out there that are very pro Trey Lance, and that's where a lot of this conversation is happening. I just think if we look at this as Purdy is the starter and second quarterback is open for business, I think it's a lot easier. I just think there's this perception that there's this competition between Purdy and Lance when Shanahan literally said on Kawakami's podcast, I'm assuming on Tuesday, that quote. So I don't know. Am I overreading that? Am I overstepping my bounds? I don't know.
No, what you're doing is understanding exactly why logically this is happening. We've talked about it, and we've tried to stay away from it all offseason because it's like beating your head against the wall. Trey Lance was the starter. Trey Lance got injured, unfortunately. Jimmy Garoppolo came in. Jimmy Garoppolo got injured, unfortunately. Brock Purdy came in. Brock Purdy won a ton of games and put a bunch of good things on film. If Jimmy Garoppolo, after 5 games, gets the bag, you don't have to pay Brock Purdy. It seems like the almost similar thing. Now, before you guys start yelling about, well, remember what happened with Jimmy, that's all fine and well and good. But in terms of logical reasoning and thinking, when Brock Purdy did what he did and put what is on film, unfortunately, it put Trey Lance behind the 8 ball. And why wouldn't you give Brock Purdy the first shot at being the guy? This is why I push back on trading Trey Lance and this whole idea of getting rid of Trey Lance. Because why would you do that in a season when you lost so many quarterbacks? All of this feels logical, and anybody could have come to that. They could have come to that conclusion. Now, if you believe that there's something else at play, roster politics, if you believe that the team has something to do with it, fine. Okay, I'm not going to change your mind about that. It's Occam's razor. The most logical explanation is usually the correct answer, and that's exactly what this is. If Brock Purdy was 4-4, the 49ers limped to the playoffs, and they lost in the wild card round, you would have much more of a discussion about who should be playing. That's not the case. This team put up 30-something points weekly, and we haven't seen that in a long time. So who knows what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen, but it was clear who should get the first crack. And I don't understand why that was pushed back on so hard. Even if you support Trey Lance, even if you're one of the people like Andrew and I, who when Trey Lance was drafted, I want to see Trey Lance play now. Yeah. Now, would it have led to wins? Maybe not, but I wanted to kick off the development. I wanted to start to get him moving. So whatever you thought goes out the window when what's on film precedes all that. Now, will that continue? I don't know. And it might not. That's in the range of possibilities. But this answer was always right there in front of you, and it shouldn't have taken Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch to explain to you a bunch of times about this.
Yeah, and my last point on the quarterback before we move on to, and you mentioned the point of, we wanted to see Trey Lance, might come at the expense of winning, losing games. If the San Francisco 49ers were, say, the Atlanta Falcons, let's say this is a Falcons podcast, and the Falcons have the same quarterback issue. We got Atlanta Jordan in here. But let's say the same quarterback situation with the Atlanta Falcons past couple years, right? So not great, same quarterback situation. Trey Lance would be the starter because the Atlanta Falcons have to look and say, this is what we traded to try and change our franchise. We need to stick with it. The San Francisco 49ers, I don't know if you know this, Jason, they're trying to win a Super Bowl. They're absolutely trying to win a Super Bowl right now. And maybe in 2021, when we were talking about Trey Lance, Garoppolo, start Lance now, sure, that's fine, but we weren't sure what it was going to look like. We know what Brock Purdy looks like with this 49ers team. And while it is unfair that we don't know what Trey Lance looks like, that's a huge thing because they are both on rookie contracts. Kyle Shanahan does not care which one it is. He's going to pick the one. This is not about oh my God, I'm totally forgetting the word, progressing a rookie quarterback. This is about who gives the 49ers a better chance in 2023 to win. And a lot of what Shanahan said on Kawakami's podcast was Purdy was showing this in practice. We got him on the team. He was showing this in practices after on the team. And then when he got on the field, he was showing exactly what he was showing in practices, which makes it so much easier on coaches to be like, hey, we know what we need to work exactly on with this guy. So I understand the Trey Lance argument in a vacuum. I understand people saying they traded this pick, that pick, this pick. But the 49ers are not in a position where the picks matter at this point, and it is who does Kyle Shanahan, and I know people don't like putting it like that, but Kyle Shanahan is the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. He is the one making this decision. I don't care what Billy Bob 8643 on 49ers Twitter says about Trey Lance. I don't care what another person says about Sam Darnold. Right now, it is who is Kyle Shanahan most comfortable with to lead this team to win football games? And the answer is very obviously Brock Purdy right now. And that's nothing against, as I said, Trey Lance. He got hurt, and it's a bummer. Right. Yeah. But right now, the Niners are trying. If the Niners are not trying to win a Super Bowl right now, Trey Lance is your starter, and I'm fine with that. But the Niners are trying to win a Super Bowl. We know what Purdy is.
And the word you used was perfect. Unfair. Life's unfair. Yeah. Life's unfair. Once you get an opportunity, you've got to seize it. Right. There's a stupid Eminem song about it. Right. Yeah. Like he did what he had to do, and you understand why that's happening. And there's two comments I want to get here. JKBG with a real comment this time, a really good comment. I feel like Kyler's reverting back to what makes him comfortable. The limited quarterback who's a product of the system. I don't know if he has the patience for Lance, even though it's clear he has a higher ceiling. And I do think that that's a lot of people's problems, right? Is that with this whole situation is, now the guy that you gave the starting job to last year is an afterthought. But I also do think when you win as many games, when you have the offense operating in the way that they did, and when you watch what the Chiefs were able to do in the second half by putting the Eagles secondary in a blender with motion, that's exactly what the 49ers were going to do. But unfortunately, he got injured. So it is unfair. It is he's dealt a bad hand, Trey Lance. There is a world where Trey Lance is not good either. There is a world where that's true too, right? We probably are not going to ever know. And I always think that no matter where Trey Lance goes, whether he sticks here or he goes somewhere else, he will always not him, but people will always blame the 49ers situation for why he never panned out in the way that people thought. And then John V says, my fear is that we're on the other side of a 30 for 30 episode if we move off Trey Lance. And that is the fear because it's completely possible because he does have that high ceiling.
There is a full world where the Niners trade Trey Lance in a couple weeks to insert team name here. And he figures it out, and I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen with. I'm not sorry, I shouldn't say figures it out. He gets an opportunity to play because we don't know if he has a chance. Whatever. I don't want to say it like that, but there's a world where he goes and he sets the world on fire in this new place, and it's not. People are going to make it an indictment on Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, where I think a little bit. Yes, I will understand that, but a lot of it is it's just like this is the situation and how it played out. If he doesn't break his ankle against the Seahawks, we live in a totally different world right now, right? And that's just kind of what it is. Listen, it sucks. It sucks that the Trey Lance situation has gotten to this point. I'm not taking any of that away, but it's just the reality of the situation, and I don't think we should be looking at it as a indictment on really anything. It is what it is at this point, and there's nothing to do to avoid it.
Life is unfair. Life is very unfair. Yeah. Sports is unfair. Ask Wally Pitt. Lou Gehrig comes in after you. Oh, you never get to play again, right? Ask Alex Smith.
There we go. That's what I was going to say. Niner
Colin Kaepernick. It's just unfair. But as long as you're winning ball games, you feel bad for the guy behind him, but you're happy because your team is winning.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. Let's get to this. Shout out to my guy, Wolfgang, Niner Gang Wolfcast. Just showing some love to a great show and pumped that camp has started, ready for football, Niner game. Make sure you guys are subscribed to his channel as well, too, man. Wolf does a great job as well, man. And, yeah, it's just I think there's a way for people to understand that there is a world where we may never get to know what Trey Lance is. And there were some unfortunate circumstances, but it wasn't something that was like everybody's against him type of thing. It's like when you do, like Kyle said, when you get your opportunity, you got to seize the moment. And Brock Purdy did. And he did in a way in which the offense was rolling in a way that the 49ers haven't seen in a while. They won a ton of games. They won games that were close. They blew people out. They won 2 playoff games. I don't know how you can go away from what you saw with your eyes with Brock Purdy for what you think you can get from Trey Lance, because it's an imperfect science to advance a quarterback. And I think that's the best way to look at it.
Yeah, and then CB says if Brock can't knock the rust off, does he give his best chance to win? And no, but that's why, like, that opens the Pandora's box. So that's probably why they should keep Trey Lance too, like just to have an insurance policy. And I don't think I don't know. I don't think the Niners should trade Trey Lance. I just feel like that's the likeliest scenario at this point, but I don't think they should.
Let's see. Mike Crone says, of course, there's a risk Trey goes somewhere else and looks good, but he also could be talented and not good enough to be QB1. We just don't know. But we do know the 49ers won a lot with Brock. I think you don't really have to write think pieces. You don't have to get super in depth. I don't think it gets easier than that, Mike. And I think that's the way that this team is looking at things. And I think this team also feels like, because of the injury, that they were robbed of something a little bit bigger. Now, what we were robbed of was Phillip Rivers winning the Super Bowl over Patrick Mahomes as a San Francisco 49er. But this team is looking at what they accomplished with Brock Purdy and saying, well, if he never gets hurt, we probably beat the Eagles, because why shouldn't they feel like that? So why wouldn't they want him back? Why wouldn't they want to run it back with him? And then you talking about the way that the offense looked, all of that stuff, I think it's, again, the easiest explanation is the one in front of you. Sure. Is there other things at play? Can we put on tinfoil hats and try to figure out other things? Sure. And that's what makes sports discussion so fun.
Yes.
But the boring real answer is probably this one.
Yeah. And I guess the simplest way to put it too is, if roles are reversed here and it's Brock Purdy enters 2022 as the starter, gets hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo steps in, Trey Lance and does what Brock did, Trey Lance is your starter right now, right? It has nothing to do.
Right. All right.
I feel like there's.
Let me give you a hypothetical.
Names. Yeah.
Let me give you a hypothetical. Okay. So Brock has 8 games, and of course, 8 games don't make a career, right?
No.
They barely make a season.
Yes.
But let me ask you a question, Andrew, and I want you to just my hypothetical and the chat. Let's just say the roles were reversed, right? In this way. Brock Purdy gets injured and he was a starter. Or let's just say, you know what? Jimmy Garoppolo was starting again and you guys were all upset about it, okay? Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured again.
Yes.
But Trey Lance has 5 games of playing very good football, running the ball well, throwing the ball well. Is it over at that point? Does he not develop anymore? Is he already on his way to, being a great, it's a small sample size, but a small sample size doesn't make a career, doesn't make a season. So let's just say it's less games than Brock Purdy, but Trey Lance was winning games and he did very well. Is it, well, it's over. He's got to be the guy going forward. Probably does. Yeah. Probably does, right? Because it's Jimmy Garoppolo. But are you that confident? Are you that confident?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably as confident because I'm a big believer, and people make fun of the Jimmy Garoppolo contract was the first one that people really was like, oh, 5 games. Daniel Jones may be the most recent example of this, but it is 2023. If you think you have a quarterback, you need to keep that quarterback. That's just what it is. I think you're absolutely right. I think if roles are reversed and Trey Lance has only 5 good games and it's just like, oh, he's what we think he is, then you're starting Trey Lance, no doubt. JKBG, if the Phillip Rivers got signed by the Niners and defeated Mahomes in Super Bowl 57, I personally would have paid for each of his kids to it. Yeah, dude, Niner fan. We talked about it yesterday a little bit when Jason brought it up, and I listened to it. It was a pretty funny thing. But if Phillip Rivers comes in, plays 1 game for the San Francisco 49ers and wins a Super Bowl, you have to retire 17.
Yep, 17 goes away. Sorry, Emmanuel Sanders. Sorry, Josh Johnson. Sorry, Jalen Hurd.
Sorry,
Patriots legend.
Jenkins.
Sorry, AJ Jenkins. It goes up in the rafters as Phillip Rivers. And
speaking of which, speaking of AJ Jenkins, we didn't even talk about this. Jalen Hurd on the Patriots.
Yeah, cool.
That's cool. No, I know we have the meme thing and then fun, but very, very real claps for him. Injury issues, getting back into the league, very I know we've had our fun with him, but very genuine. Like, I'm happy he's back in the league because injury issues are not a reason why I ever want to see a player leave the league. So for him to be back in the NFL, very good. Yes.
Can I pivot real quick to something that Bill O'Brien said about his 2 tight end set? I don't know if you got a chance to see that.
I have not seen this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I saw it. Oh my god. Oh, yeah, I know.
Hold on. Let me set it up. Let me knock it down. Punchline everything.
Yep.
So for you guys that don't know, the New England Patriots signed Mike Gesicki, and they have Hunter Henry currently. And Bill O'Brien was there when they used to run a 2 tight end set with 2 other tight ends, and he came out today and said, I've been showing them the 2 tight end sets that I used to run with 2 Patriots legends, Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. And I literally read that and I just looked at it and I was like, I get what you're doing, but my God, you're opening the door for people to just go crazy with this and run away with it.
You got to do the thing that wrestling did with like Benoit.
You got to bleep it out with Chris Benoit.
Yeah, like you just go, yeah, man. I ran a legendary 2 tight end set with Gronkowski,
with Rob Gronkowski and someone else.
And others, like you don't have to say the name.
Dude, he said those 2 guys were legends. And I was just like, why would you say that last part?
We're using the word legend too loosely nowadays. Hey, Jason, we managed to go 30 minutes talking about 49ers quarterbacks. Pretty impressive for us. Good time to remind people that Sprint Right Off Your podcast, wherever you get your podcast, you can download, listen to the audio. Make sure you subscribe to Jason Aponte's YouTube channel. Just kind of notes here and there. Read an article from Grant Cohn today, and he said, quote, Brandon Ayuk, the only player on the first string offense who had a good day. No one on the 49ers defense can cover him. Any quote that I could just raise my Brandon Ayuk stocks with, I'm doing.
I mean, I think we're getting to the point now where it's only the second day of camp, but we can stop talking about Brandon Ayuk because he's just going to be cooking everybody. It's literally what he did last camp, and he's a hooper.
Wide receiver 1, we're taking it. I see the word Kinlaw's looking healthy. Brad Graham mentioned that specifically, but I saw a lot of other people doing it. He looks slim. He's per Brad Graham getting off the line seemingly faster on the get off. I guess that's the way to word that for me. I wrote a bad note.
It's not encroachment.
Not a good Jones encroachment, whatever you want to call it, man. Javon Hargrave beat Aaron Banks for a Purdy sack. The defensive line's good. I'm not going to take really any of that for granted, just because it's the camp and no pads, whatever. What else do I got? Womack allowed only 1 reception on 4 targets.
Looking good.
What else you got? I'm just
looking good. I mean, his number is 0, and that was 1, so that's a good thing. At least when it comes to that. From everything that we're hearing too about, Tashawn Gibson had an interception. Hufanga had a PBU yesterday. Again, man, I think you're going to hear way more about secondary because they're the ones who actually have to make plays on the ball. There's going to be no tackling, no hitting. Although Jordan Mason ran over Jair Brown. Slow down, get off my guy, Jordan Mason. But Jordan Mason's hungry, and he can't wait for the pass to come on. So that's another good thing. But, again, the running back room looks really good. Apparently, Kalen Laborn.
I wanted to make sure I said that name. Yeah, he's personally not in my book. Don't know much about him, but I did see the name Kalen Laborn a lot today. So be on the lookout for him. I'm going to read into him a little bit more tonight to make sure I have him. Travarius Ward was beat on both of Purdy's overthrows, 1 to Samuel, 1 to Jennings. And then the last 2 little notes, I guess 3 little notes I have Jason Aponte. Wisnowski activated. Moody 4 for 4, good from 33, 38, 38, and 51. Zane Gonzalez 2 for 2, good from 41 and 43.
One last ride, 10, and Zane Gonzalez is wearing 10.
I saw somebody. I saw a rookie was wearing 10 too in the little Jake Moody dance video. Ronnie Bell.
So here's the thing, Andrew.
69's gone, 10's gone. Like, are we just washing the history of the San Francisco 49ers? Or
here's the thing, Andrew. With draft picks, you got to sit them a year. Yeah. So, let Zane Gonzalez kick for the year. Let Jake Moody get up to speed, learn the playbook. And then, you unleash him next year. So, Zane's here to be the veteran presence. You're trying to win games, right? Do you think that you can put a rookie in there and win a bunch of football games to go to the NFC Championship game? No, it's a development process. So you got to go with Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You got to go Zane Gonzalez.
Someone's going to listen to that.
That's
and
how
they're
that
going to be
works,
like, oh, my God, I can't believe he's still mad about the pick. And, it's clearly that I'm being facetious, incredibly clearly.
Do you have any other notes from camp? I feel like I got a good amount. I didn't want to talk about, since I did listen to it, the Kawakami Shanahan podcast, wrote some notes throughout. So I want to make sure we're good on camp before we just talk about that. You got anything else?
No, that's it. I mean, at this point, look, Dusty Gold says kicker playbook is thick. You know what else is thick? Never mind.
Jason Aponte's thighs.
So nothing really at this point. Like, again, look, guys, very light practices, no hitting, anything like that. You know, you're just right now, guys are just getting back into shape, getting into the flow. You know, it's when the pads go on, when Bosa's signed and they start to get going again, then we're going to know who's really hooping. It was really good to hear good things about Javon Kinlaw. It's really good to hear things about Javon Hargrave. You know, again, like that's cool and all. But again, you're not going to know the gravity of what these guys are doing until the pads go on. As of right now, these are just glorified OTA sessions at this point. And it shouldn't cause too much concern. It shouldn't have people freaked out in any way. Shouldn't have you taking victory laps either. It should just be taken as football's back. Now we have a point of discussion. We have things that we can talk about now that are tangible, but they're in the grand scheme of things. The further and further we get along into training camp and into the preseason, we are not going to be talking about the second day of practice again, unless somebody throws 5 interceptions, which means Super Bowl for the 49ers.
Super Bowl for the guaranteed. So we touched on it yesterday. I got a chance to listen to it today. I just wrote down some notes. Kawakami Shanahan podcast on The Athletic. If you get a chance, you go listen to it. It was actually a very insightful conversation.
Here you go, though. We got you want to read this one?
Jan, thank you for the donation. According to the GC, Purdy supporters are racist. Thanks for keeping it really, fellas. We appreciate not doing this for the clickbait. We try to have fun. We try to keep it loose. We appreciate it. We try and tell you what's going on, even though, you know, we're hanging out in Sacramento and Jersey.
The thing is, you know, I don't know, you know, how you can like get to that. You know, again, that's not something that I ever want to like really talk about.
That's
so, but. No,
we appreciate the donation, and thank you for the compliment.
Thank you for the donation. Appreciate you. I think, again, it's just as simple as play on the field. It shouldn't be anything more than that at that point. So, yeah, I mean, it's just thank you for the donation. That's it. That's all I can say from that. Yeah, 100%.
Appreciate you. So here's what I got. There's the thing. He never thought Purdy was never going to be cleared, so he was pretty confident he was going to be good to go. The Thursday game against Seattle is when Shanahan knew Purdy was, quote-unquote, a dude. Which goes into like what's the difference between a guy and a dude? I think a dude's better than a guy.
A dude, a guy, a fella.
Yeah. Ooh, fella, huh?
Or feller. It's Feller.
Hey, dude, guy, or fella? Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy. Go.
All right. A dude is Brock Purdy.
Well, yeah, because Kyle Shanahan said dude, so he's
a dude is Brock Purdy. The guy is Jimmy Garoppolo, and unfortunately, Trey Lance is a feller.
See, I got Trey Lance as the guy. Jimmy Garoppolo was the fella.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go.
Did you see how big that helmet looks on him? Why are you massacring my boy like that, man? Put a normal size helmet on that boy.
Emphasize the chin. Speaking of Jimmy Garoppolo, he said Jimmy Garoppolo is the most successful 49ers quarterback since Steve Young. I'm on the full screen now. Hello. My face is split up. He likes that Steve Young comparison because I saw he said something about Sam Darnold earlier today, which is very interesting. Oh, you're good.
I went to highlight this one because
and then you just left.
No, yeah. And
why would he burn the beginning jersey?
Why would I burn Super Bowl champion Jet McKinnon?
When the Sprint Ride Option podcast goes into whatever Hall of Fame we're going into, we're literally just going to hang the McKinnon jersey.
Yeah,
like that's the jersey we're
Super Bowl champion Jet McKinnon, who selflessly gave him up on the 1 yard line to win the Super Bowl and beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
Come on, my guy. Using a running back to beat the Eagles. Wild concept. If the 49ers had stayed at 12, he believes that Lance and Jones both would have been gone, which is why they traded up. Kawakami mentioned that Lance was taken at 15, and essentially Shanahan was like, somebody would have traded up.
Jones was taken at 15.
Sorry, Jones is taken at 15. I apologize. My brain just Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Niners, all fun stuff. But Jones goes at 15. Kawakami was like, the Patriots probably trade up. And Shanahan was like, well, there's 3 teams that probably would have traded up. And then he just didn't say the 3 teams. And then the point that you made that I really like, Jason, you said this yesterday. He didn't admit they couldn't win the NFC Championship game until 2 minutes left in the fourth. And when he finally said it in the headset and he
said it's over, guys. They're down 30-7 with no quarterback, and that's finally when he said it's over.
I remember because I watched the playoff games with Dolphin Albert, my friend Albert. And I remember when Purdy went out of the game and they were showing him on the sideline just not being able to throw. Second quarter, I turned to him like, I don't have to care about this game anymore. And that's a nice thing because, NFC Championship games are stressful, gotten pretty stressful to watch. So for me personally, it was kind of nice just to be like, don't have to worry about this one anymore. Niners lost. But it goes to show you how competitive he is.
Well, I'll say this. After Purdy got hurt, I said, okay, game's over. But I'll never forget when Christian McCaffrey ran over all those dudes and ran it in. And I said, you know what? It's not over. It's not over. And it gave me a little bit of hope for a little while. But kind of funny that's why I brought it up yesterday. 30-7 with 2 minutes left. And you were like, damn, I don't think we're going to pull this out. What? You literally had Christian McCaffrey throw a ball to nobody, on a trick play. What?
What's funny, too, is, they were competitive. Because you remember Trent Williams. Was it the fourth quarter? He got in a fight? He tried to fight the entire Eagles defense? Well, by the way, speaking of, I know we're opening, old wounds. I came home on my lunch today, and they were showing the end of the Niners-Cowboys game, the playoff game that just happened.
Oh, with Jimmy Ward?
Dude, the Cowboys' last drive needs to go to the NFL Hall of Fame because it started with the play where Dak Prescott almost ran himself out of bounds, and Armstead almost had to run through him, but held up. Dalton Schultz had a play where he gave himself up to keep the clock running. Inbounds to keep the clock running. He then had another play right before where he just didn't even. And I remember we talked about all the wild that 6 months just makes you forget all this stuff. We had this exact conversation when this game happened. He had the play where he just didn't bother to get his second foot in bounds, which set up the Ezekiel Elliott. That whole drive needs to go to the Hall of Fame.
And John Lynch took the bat slide down to the field. He literally he was in the booth 1 second. And
I remember that too because they were showing the replay and Lynch was in the booth. And then 3 seconds later, he was on the field and we got the great David Lombardi video.
That's such a good video.
It is. Dude, listen, that is I know people like to meme Lombardi. I'm not one of those people.
I love Lombardi, man. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, no, I Lombardi seems like a dude from everything you guys have told me.
He's a dude.
He's a dude. He's a guy, right? Not a fella. He's a dude.
No, he's a dude and a guy. That's a giant guy also as well. He's a very tall man.
But the content of him literally videotaping him going from the press box to the field is the Niners content I need, and I need that.
And shout out to Sam from KMBR for making that work with him and doing that with him because that was their idea, man. Sam's awesome too, man. He does incredible work for the Giants and the Niners and everything on KMBR.
Love that. There's a couple quotes about Steve Wilks being the defensive coordinator. Said they had a few names in mind. Vic Fangio was one of them, but he wanted to keep mostly the same stuff, and he specifically named the four-man front, which makes me wonder if he wanted to keep the four-man front, does that mean Fangio was really never? Because I'm assuming Fangio didn't want to go four-man front since he's been three. And this is a Rich Madrid question, but does that mean Fangio maybe never was an option?
There is no base defense, guys.
Okay, see,
wrapped up on 3-4. It's
that's why I didn't want to say.
You can't just be with 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers if they're spreading you out on offense and everything as well. Too.
Perfect. Thank you.
But she asked, how tall is Lombardi? I'm 6'5". He's my height.
It's unbelievable.
He's a unit. The man's tall as hell, man. And he's very nice, by the way. Shout out to David Lombardi. He's always been very nice to me, always giving me good advice.
I think the most interesting tidbit, I only have a couple more tidbits before we get out of here, Jason. Most interesting tidbit is he compared Steve Wilks coming in to the 49ers with a set staff because the Niners didn't change any of their defensive staff other than Steve Wilks. Directly compared it to Mike Shanahan joining the 49ers as the OC in 1992.
Oh,
no, it was 92, where the Niners didn't move any other pieces around. In the first year, Steve Young won MVP. So that's a very I don't know if necessarily one has to do with another, but the fact that Kyle Shanahan's brain is there, hey, my dad did it where he came in as the OC with all the coaches staying. Steve Wilks doing it now. Nick Bosa MVP season guaranteed booking.
Can I pivot back to the quarterbacks now that you brought that up? It kind of just triggered something back in my
brain. Go ahead.
So you have Brock Purdy taking all of the team 1 reps. You've got Trey Lance, who needs reps,
Mhm.
and you've got Sam Darnold, who in the same interview, or Kyle Shanahan, I believe, or from another interview, likened how long it took Steve Young to be good at 31, and why can't Sam be that way? And yet, here we are giving reps to Brandon Allen as opposed to giving it to one of these young men.
Yeah.
Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, any of them, right? So if the split is 17, 11, 7, 5,
That's
those 5 reps should go to the people that actually have a chance of playing, or you're trying to figure something out. Either Trey Lance, either Sam Darnold. I don't care if it's either of those two because they deserve reps over him. Or Brock Purdy again, even if you're trying to keep him on a pitch count, that's fine. It seems like exhausting resources for no reason.
Yeah.
When all we should be doing is gathering information, especially in this time when things are easy right now, right? With no pads or anything like that. I just find it shocking that they're still giving away 5 valuable reps when there's 2 and 3 guys that need reps for different reasons. I just tell me I'm not crazy, and I'm not trying to
because like my thing is, and this is nothing against Allen, whatever. It's just the way Kyle Shanahan made it seem is Allen really earned his way into camp, which like respectable, I get it, but this is the end. Like earning your way onto a team in this context because of your work ethic or whatever. That's a very much like college, high school thing to me. Like this is the NFL. You're not. And Shanahan even touched on it, like the 3 quarterback rule, how he's not a big fan of it because like you got to have the 3rd quarterback active on the roster, stuff like that. And now like we're talking about a 4th quarterback, and nothing against Allen. Like as I said, nothing against him. It's just the quarterback competition is already complex. See, I just used the word that I said I'm not going to use. The quarterback situation is already complex as it is. So why throw in just a guy who's here?
You know who should get on the phone?
Phillip Rivers.
No, the Cincinnati Bengals, after today's scare with Joe Burrow. Why don't you call and ask about Brandon Allen again?
Yeah.
It's just, look, man. I also have like made jokes about with the way the quarterback injuries go and how many times the 49ers have run through quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like, you should have as many as possible. I have made that joke as well. But you better be able to get through this season with 3 of them.
Yeah.
And again, all 3 of these guys need reps for different reasons. Brock needs to shake the rust off. Okay, pitch count. So let's take him out. Pitch count. And that makes sense. Bring him along. Don't overuse him. I understand that. Trey needs reps desperately. More than anybody. Right? And Kyle loves Sam Darnold enough to compare him to 31-year-old Steve Young, who eventually went on to be the highest rated passer of all time and win Super Bowls and won MVPs. And yet, there's Brandon Allen piddling around with the 3rd team, putting up the best numbers of the day, apparently. And it's like, it feels like a waste of resources. It feels like a waste of time in terms of the snaps. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, well, I think if you want to, I do like the conspiracy thoughts, and there is one that I think can be had that I'm
a trade for Lance.
One of the middle. Well, I was going to say one of the 2 middle quarterbacks.
So you trade Lance or you trade Darnold, but you have Brandon Allen who's learning the system. Okay,
and that's the only reasoning that I could put together in my mind for having a 4th quarterback there. That's really the only, because outside that's the only way I could justify it.
Yeah.
If Brandon Allen gets cut in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it may be, or I guess it's into preseason now, what were we doing? Right? What were we doing if we end up keeping Lance, Purdy, and
it's a waste of Lance's time.
Yeah.
It's a waste of his time. You should be giving him the chance to work through everything. You should be giving him the chance to go against that defense as many times as possible. Brandon Allen, for better or worse, is still at least he has a role.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's one of the 64 quarterbacks, whatever it is, right? Like I'm bad with math. Like if it's 3 per team, whatever that number is. Brandon Allen's part of
96.
96. He's part of the 96. But Trey Lance isn't coming back from an arm injury. It would be best to try to give him as many. And if you know what, even if you want to give those to Sam Darnold because you believe so much in him and you believe that he can turn the corner, feels like a waste of resources and time at this point because you've got to figure out what you've got with both these guys.
Mm-hmm. And that's like I know we just talked about how like Lance has had a lot of bad luck in this, but like the Niners aren't the Niners. Like that's fair. They gave Rosen reps.
Dawson, I love that Rosen training camp, man. That was
Remember how
electric.
bad that season was that we did
Yes.
we did an emergency podcast for
Because Josh Rosen signed with the 49ers.
But yeah, the Niners like I'm not, when I say that Lance has had a lot of bad luck, I'm not saying the Niners are blameless in all this because they're like right now this situation, the Brandon Allen situation, like what, like,
well, Trey needs someone's going to go to the podium. Someone's going to go to the podium and say Trey needs reps. Yeah. So someone's going to go to the podium and say Trey needs reps, but you're giving those reps to Brandon Allen.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what comes up. I think it's setting up for some sort of trade. Whether it's I don't think it's going to be Darnold, so I don't even know why I'm trying to hide it. I'm assuming it's setting up some sort of Trey Lance trade, but we'll see. Things will fall. Things will fall how they fall.
Don't worry, Andrew. Steve Young, who is like the 1 in a million shot, I don't know, because all that bad play earlier, it just was, the coach threw it in somebody's belly. The coach was seeing ghosts. The coach and the playmakers were, it was always that, right? Like, it's just, he just needed to get into with a coach, and he's going to be great. So yeah. I love pointing to like the 3 cases out of like the thousands of quarterback cases that literally put it at a 0.001% chance that Sam Darnold turns into anything other than what he's been in this league. But hey, let's give the rest of Brendan.
I mean, even too, like, can you think of another scenario like the Geno more recent?
Geno,
I guess Geno, like does Kurt Warner qualify?
Smith, Geno and Alex Smith. So we're talking about 3 guys.
Kurt Warner? Or does he not count because he was good at the start?
Kurt Warner just came out of the USFL and he went into it. We're talking about guys.
I'm talking Cardinals. Kurt Warner.
Yeah, and we're talking about. That makes sense too because he was with the Giants.
But I'm saying, does he not count since he was good? With the Rams
he was already good. Yeah.
I
think we're talking about guys who have had a chance and have a significant sample size that were not. They were objectively bad at football, and all of a sudden turned it on. That's Geno Smith. That was Alex Smith for a long time. Both of those guys. Well, we got to see Geno do it one more time too. Also, that's part of the thing. Alex turned into a nice career, but that kind of helps when you have Andy Reid, and then Steve Young, who he was with the Tampa Bay Bucks. But it's just I despise pointing to the 3 cases out of the thousands. And Axel brings up Tannehill. I'll tell you this:
he had 1 good year.
Tannehill was good with Adam Gase. The Dolphins just sucked. Right? So, like, Gase gets all the blame for Sam Darnold and being a terrible coach, which he is, and being a loopy mess. He is. But I think we're forgetting what he did in Miami. He was actually pretty good. And he's a converted wide receiver. Like, we're talking about, like, a number 3 pick, a number 1 pick. Geno was a high pick. We're talking about guys that, like, were highly regarded. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill used to play wide receiver at Texas Tech, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
But also a first-round pick, though.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Was it Tamu or Texas Tech? I think it was Tamu.
Okay, I'm sorry.
A&M? No, well,
yeah.
we're at the point. We're at the point where we're trying to figure out where Ryan Tannehill went to college here on the Sprint Red Option.
But the point is, again, right? Like, even if you want to throw Tannehill in there, right? Now we're at 4, and there's he went to TNM, TANM. It's 4 cases of out of how many quarterbacks who have been objectively bad at football that have been able to turn in solid careers,
and the Niners happen to have him. Wow. I mean, listen, if that's the case, why isn't Sam Darnold the quarterback 1? Like, what are we doing? The last 2 points I wanted to make regarding we just totally broke off. He seems to hope the Niners blitz a little more on defense. He kind of heavily hinted at that. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I got, just because I like to do it, he got really deep talking about Jake Moody. He used a lot of descriptive words about Jake Moody. Which like begs the question, like, why is Zane Gonzalez here?
Why is he there? He's just taking up a spot. Let me ask you a question.
You need those Jake Moody reps. Why is Zane Gonzalez taking them,
Let me ask you a question. When you like a football team or a baseball team or a football team, a soccer team, or a hockey team, do you put that team's name in front of your name? Like, unless you just, like, you run with it? Like, you're Giants Andrew.
Yes.
Your 49ers, Andrew.
Yes.
Your Wolves, Andrew.
Wolverhampton Wanderers. Yes.
Wolverhampton Wanderers. Yeah, right. Like, is that what we do? Like,
sure.
Look,
what are we
LSU
referencing?
Dawson. Like LSU Dawson.
Yeah. What are we referencing here?
I'm just asking questions about this,
okay.
right? Yeah. So I would be what? Yankees Jason.
Yeah.
49ers Jason.
Yeah. Austin Rivers Jason.
Here we go.
Listen. I hate to break it to you.
And look. This is where I was going with it. That's Raiders Tristy. Look at Raiders Tristy.
I hate to break it to you, Tristy. I'm a Warriors fan first, but
he can see the beam from his house.
Yeah, but like I'm very like listen, like second day in a row where I'm dropping ADHD that I have it. Shout out, right? You put a giant purple light in the sky that I can see from my apartment. I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna go look at it a lot. But no, I also don't really pay attention to basketball as much as I used to as well. So I've kind of adopted the Kings because they're a fun team. But yeah, I'm just very pro Beam. Like the Beam is cool.
Kings
Andrew,
fan,
we're talking
Kings Andrew and King C. You're like, like this is where we're going with it right now at this point.
We love it. Oh, hi. I meant to mention this yesterday. If anybody is in, this is off topic. If anybody's interested in a bit of a college football project, somebody who watches college football who wants to kind of get in on something, shoot me a message. We'll talk. It's a very loose thing. I can't pay you. I need some help. I got a couple people helping me with a project, but I could use maybe a little bit.
Send them all the LSU film.
I'll kind of
Dawson's in there.
We'll talk. Yeah, just reach out to me, Dawson, and then we'll talk. If anybody watches a lot of college football, just let me know. That's the bare minimum right now. Do you have anything else we can? I mean, Tristy's here. We talking Yard House?
We're talking. No, we're not talking Yard House. No, you know what?
Let's not do this. In Vegas?
Let's not. No, we're not thoughting in Vegas. It's not happening either. Don't do that either, as well too. Even though I would love nothing more than to hang out with Raiders Jimmy or Raiders James if you're nasty. But I don't know what. James Garoppolo, Raiders James Richard Garoppolo,
James Richard. Even though I somehow turned it to Robert, it's in my brain. It's James Robert Garoppolo, but it's wrong.
James Richard, and we're not thoughting in Vegas. I don't want to hear that. We're not thoughting in Vegas. I don't want to hear that.
Any thoughts on Poirier versus?
I don't know what that is.
I'm assuming that's fake UFC. I watch real stuff. I watch
or boxing.
Wrestling. Maybe Poirier seems like a UFC name. We're gonna Google this now. I don't know who.
No, we're not.
Poirier.
Take us out.
UFC, Dustin Poirier. Yeah, put all your money on Gath G. That's who you should take. I think that's who's winning. Second round knockout. Guarantee it. Book it. Jason Aponte as always.
Let's go Niners.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast.